So a lot of people that probably view this channel and look at like all the videos versus just like the garden and permaculture stuff may wonder, like, so you're a collector of this, you have all these, music instruments, you have all these games and movies and all this, electronics, home theater stuff, but you're also doing like permaculture and raised beds and all. Is there like a, is there a competing thing, Are you a hippie? A tree hugger? Or are you like this big hoarding consumer or something? And I guess that's a valid question. People growing up now in, I guess, the digital age do not have, I guess, a lot of the nostalgia for things that, Gen Xers and stuff and baby boomers had. In a lot of ways, I wish I probably didn't have that nostalgia factor, or at least, I kept them in memories. I wish I would have kept them in memories versus like getting things that reminded me of good times, in the past. Like I've talked about, I think on one of my antenna adventures, like the nostalgia factor, I think I made a whole video about the nostalgia factor of not getting anything on, as growing up as a kid, not getting much of anything on the TV, just static, and trying to watch TV through the static, and only certain days we could have something that was watchable, and only a few channels. And then maybe when cable TV came in, and how important, I guess, the drive-in theater became, for us, because that was our thing every weekend. That was our family thing. And VCRs, VHSs, yeah, we got those. Not the best experiences with them, you had to wait a long time, I think, after a movie hit the theater, and we really didn't go or have any, I guess, stores that sold new releases. We had just like the drugstores and stuff that got the clearance items, and they sold video games and movies and electronics and all that, like Eckerd's. So we didn't really have stores that sold new albums, new movies. So all we had was the drive-in theater for the longest time. We didn't even have a phone, landline, until I was like 12, 13 years old. That said, I believe that once you start getting into permaculture, you never master it. You take a few steps forward. You sometimes take many steps backwards, it seems, when stuff isn't working out, the plants are not thriving for you or whatever. The experiments you do fail, but hopefully you keep moving forward and you learn as you go. And whether or not you master it before your dying day, hopefully you move towards something. You're moving towards something as long as you keep learning and working toward this goal of being, I guess, self-sufficient or as close as possible. Doing this raised bed experiment for avocados, something we can't really just put in the ground anywhere here without it floating and getting root rot and dying. This is a way of moving forward if the experiment works, or experiments, I should say. So figuring out how to make plants survive and or thrive when you previously couldn't is moving forward. Learning how to propagate your own plants is moving forward. Learning how to graft your plants is moving forward. Learning how to pollinate to get a larger crop, to hand pollinate stuff, to breed, possibly potentially new cultivars of stuff. That is moving forward and using nature, leaves, tree limbs, trees that fall to make your own soil. That is moving forward. Making your own compost. That is moving forward, right? Your compost is soil. Compost also has nutrients that feed your plants. In permaculture, it seems like anytime you move forward and keep moving forward, you are taking, even if it's just a minuscule amount of fossil fuels out of your life, a minuscule amount of the money that is being spent out of your bank account on things that you would have to go to a grocery store to buy or a department store. But I guess if you look at collecting things as a problem, yep, I must be a problem child. With that being said, I talked earlier about, things going digital and, people born, in the last 10, 20 years or so, maybe even 25 or 30 years, are okay with this digital transition. They're not collecting as much stuff, as far as games, movies, yada yada. They're possibly and potentially recycling their old electronics and plastics and stuff like that, sometimes mandated by a city or maybe county ordinance or whatever, where you got the little box out there and you just throw all your plastic in there. But what that also means is one day you likely will not be able to buy a movie or a game off of a store shelf. I mean, they're already going that way. I think Best Buy is supposed to stop physical media if they haven't already. Selling it. Sometimes when you go to Walmart and buy a PC game, you get a box, and then you open that box up, and there might be like a little card with a download code. So they're moving that way in so many stores, and you see less movies at Best Buy, less. You've just seen it over the years. They're just taking away all this stuff, and I guess one day it'll be online buying only. So you will not even have to go to Walmart or Best Buy or whatever. And they might be only just catering to like people that do not have like credit cards and stuff, like kids that might just have some birthday cash or whatever. But that'll go away, I think. Until then, what else are you going to do with all of the movies and games that have been released over the last 40 years? Put them in a landfill? Guitars, electronics, it's probably plastic recycling, is more harmful to recycle supposedly than it is to create new plastic. And, and it's expensive. This is why a lot of cities and counties have quit doing plastic recycling, even ones around me now. They shut down their production, the government contracts or state contracts or whatever, city, county contracts, they're just not doing it anymore. So am I happy that they're moving in that direction? Not really, but at the same time, it's not going to force me to buy movies when I can, so far get antenna subscription free with an antenna, over-the-air antenna, or free streaming, or just pay for streaming services where you watch a movie once, and if you like it, watch it again, and you never have ownership of that title. And there are game subscription services as well where you can just pay a monthly fee and play their games, and they may have a rotating selection that changes every month or so. My kids could be the last generation that actually gets to enjoy like current gen TV and video games on physical media, and it's not just that studios are trying to force that on everybody, because they do not want people to own their licensed titles or have any kind of claim of ownership on it. And I see this even with physical games that are being released, where they'll have a one-time code to get part of the game included, like Sonic Origins. You buy the current copy, you get like 3 games or something in it with 16 games promised, but you have a code to get the rest of the games. Once that code is used, I'm guessing you can't use it anymore. You can't sell the game, with those included games, because no one will be able to use the code. And mid-COVID, late COVID, end of COVID, this, the pricing of everything has gotten so outrageous that I can't really afford to keep up with buying movies and stuff like that. I used to, I think, I shouldn't say invest. I used to buy 2 to 3 movies every month. Now, I may not buy any. And I really don't buy current gen games, and I really do not go out looking for retro games. So I'm not really adding anything to the collection for myself unless something just comes to me. Somebody says, hey, I got a collection of stuff. And that happens all the time. Well, not as much as it used to, and I might get a collection of 5 or 20 games or something to add to my collection, like retro games. So hopefully getting into more permaculture practices helps offset some of the issues people may have with people that collect stuff. And like I said, the world is moving forward, studios are moving forward, and people born within the last 20 to 30 years are accepting the digital age. So it's not hitting their profits that much, for the people holding out. Although I'm sure there's still millions to be made from physical releases. But like I said, hopefully it's offsetted by a myriad of things, personal decisions, and just the world moving, world advancing to the digital era. All right, take care.